On this edition of the AMBEST Garage Pony Project, we sit down with Gearz TV host and automotive expert Stacey David to talk about all things Mustang.
You know, anytime you get a bunch of gearheads together, you cannot stop us from talking about cars and the history of cars and generally our history with the car in question. So, Joel and I are going to talk about Mustangs a little bit. What was your first Mustang story, experience?
My brothers are all older than me. So growing up, I was always around them because they grew up in the muscle car era.
Okay.
So it was always, you know, I always had access to different things and watching them with the stuff that they were doing. So I gravitated naturally to that. And my brother was actually restoring a 1968 Firebird.
Okay.
And we were
nice car.
We were driving to get some parts for his car, and I see an ad for 1967 Mustang, and so picked up the phone, called the gentleman that owned the car, and he happened to be in the same town that we were going to look at these parts, and so that was my first opportunity to.
Did you buy the car?
Well, here's the story behind that. I was actually restoring a 72 Bug convertible at the time, and was just about done with it. And I went and looked at it, and the guy was the second owner of the car, only had 57,000 miles on it. Was an original S-Code, big block, 4-speed car, which again...
A coupe or a fastback?
A fastback, and had not been fully integrated into the Mustang culture like I am now. And I looked at it and went, it's a nice car, and I walked away from it. And I went to my brother's house that night, and he told me, he goes, if you don't buy that car, you will kick yourself for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so I called the guy back up, and I'm like, do you still have the car? He's like, yep. I said, I'll be by in the morning to pick it up. And so that was how I first got my very first Mustang. And since then, I've owned an 88 GT.
How much you pay for it?
I can't tell you.
Oh, you got to tell me. It's part of the story. First of all, about what year?
94.
Okay, 94. I bet you paid big block 67.
Running driving car.
Running driving car. I bet you paid $4,500 for it.
$4,000.
Makes you want to vomit. I just threw up in my mouth. Yeah. It's like, okay.
I deserve a prison sentence for that. I truly do, because I robbed that poor guy.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
I was right out of college. I was just getting ready to move to Nashville. Yep. And I had a Jeep, had a Willys Jeep with a Corvette motor in it. Whole nother story. And I wanted a Mustang. I got hooked on Mustangs. I had learned all about Carroll Shelby. Yep. You know, so I got it, and I had to have a 65, 66 fastback. Yep. And there were only like 4 in town. Nobody was selling. And so I'm driving truck for the state, and I'm driving up to northern Idaho.
Oh, wow.
And I drive past this place. It literally was a truck stop, not even a truck stop, just a garage and a service station. And there sits a 65 fastback and a 65 coupe, both for sale. I rip in there. Both are 4-speed cars. Both are A-code cars. And the coupe is a GT.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't want a coupe. This thing was like lime green, or, you know, and I bought the car, drove it back. I went home, sold my Jeep, and this was about a 10-hour drive up through the winding hills of Idaho. I sell my car, call the guy up, take a bus, a Greyhound bus up, and I've never driven the car. I buy the car, and I make a 10-hour drive back the winding mountain roads with this car that I'd never driven before. And as I'm driving home, it's dark, and I'm just ripping this thing, and the water's beside me, and I'm just having a great time. Gutted glass packs out through the back. Something hits me in the lap. So I look down, and one of the bolts has come out of the steering wheel. I got 2 left, what the heck? So I keep going. I'm still driving along. Something else hits me in the lap. I'm down to 1 bolt in the steering wheel. I'm like, I'm just making sure it's tight. Can't thread the other ones in while I'm driving. So I get home, and the next day, you know, everybody looks at the car, Dad loves it and all this kind of stuff. The next day, you think I would have put the bolts in. Nah, I made it home. I go to get it titled. I am literally driving it to go get it titled, and the last bolt falls off. Steering wheel does this. Off, I was doing probably 20 miles an hour. And I'm in that thing, and it's like I hit the brakes, and the car obviously pulled. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I either have to slam on it and try to stop while I'm on pavement, because if I can get gravel, I'm done. So I slam on the brakes, off the road I go, and right here hits a fence post on the headlight bucket, knocks the fence post out. My brand new car, I'm ticked. I get out, guy comes up from across the street and he's like, "Did you wreck your car?" No, I always park here. Anyway, so I thread the bolts back in, drive it over, get my tags. It did no damage. It was obviously a rotten fence post. Yeah. It hit right on the corner. Yeah. And didn't do any damage except eared off some of the paint. So
yeah, amazingly enough, I mean, I
love that car.
You know, well, not on this one, but on mine with the tail panels and the fender and the headlight rings, they're actually pretty sturdy.
They're pretty sturdy.
That old cast metal.
Yeah, right on the corner especially.
Yeah. But that's the love of the Mustang. Like I said, you dive into it and you go.
Gosh, I think that car probably went through 7 engines. You know, that was kind of my real hot rod training ground. I had hot rods and stuff before that, but this one was, you know, it was a lot of fun. And it eventually got to where I couldn't hardly drive it. Had so much lumpy cam in it. But
well, and again, that kind of leads to the point of that's what's so good and great about the Ford Mustang specifically, with the 289, the 302. There's so many aftermarket parts and things that you can do to really drive these things from a performance standpoint to really escalate your horsepower and have a lot of fun with them. And really from a budget standpoint, be able to invest a mild amount of money to still have a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, really good cars. And I traded mine on a Corvette. Had to have a vet.
Everybody goes through that. Everybody goes through that. So, yeah.
So when is the giveaway?
Giveaway will be next March at the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky.
So you're still thinking about doing some upgrades to this car?
With any luck.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so your big wish list of things to do to this car, what are they?
Well, my wish list.
Your wish list. Oh, this is going to be good.
This is completely different than
still keeping it a daily driver.
Still keeping it a daily driver.
Giveaway car.
But again, going back to the drivability, disc brakes and fuel injection would be probably the number 1 and number 2.
Still keep 289.
Still keep the 289.
Yeah.
You know, you could get crazy. You could pull it out. You could put a 5-liter in there, but you know.
No, the 289.
It's such a perfect motor. I mean, why would you mess with perfection?
Yeah.
This 1964.5 289 V8 Mustang convertible is sponsored by Lucas Oil and can be yours just for swiping your AMBEST card. Every time you purchase fuel or get service work done on your truck, you're entering to win this amazing Mustang. Also, make sure you've downloaded our new AMBEST app. You can store your AMBEST card digitally and see your points and shower balance at the click of a button. Available for Apple and Android devices, you can update or download the new app, am-best.com/download.